Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 57 of Bell to Bell with Bobby Blaze. I am your host, Jeremy Vilmer, and joining us now, the star of the show, Bobby Blaze. What's happening, Bobby?
Hey, Professor, what do you know? What do you say? All I can say is I hope you can hear me loud and clear today, man. It's good to be back here once again, and I hope you caught the reference there, and I'll let you tell the people what happened last week. But, hey, this is going to be a fun episode, man. We got a fun episode coming up, folks. Tell them what happened.
It was certainly fun the first time we recorded it.
Yes.
Yeah, so last week, everybody who regularly listens notices there was no show last week on, what would that be, the 7th of October, and that is because as we recorded and had a great episode, Bobby's voice did not record, and it turned out that my recording software was one update behind, and that's probably why it happened. So, here we are, we're going to do it again, and what are we talking about again this time, Bobby?
The top 10 technical wrestlers of all time, man. That's what we're going to talk about. And we've got some honorable mentions in there as well. It should be another fun episode. I hope we had the same energy as we did last week. But we do have a great top 10. And we also got some other stuff that we talked about that's changed in the wrestling business since last week. We got a couple more things to talk about, too. So that's a good thing. I know we did a shout out, and I have no idea where that tweet was at, for our top 10 wrestlers for the one shout out. If you recall that, a guy had turned in all the guys that probably wasn't very technical wrestlers. Let's just say that.
It was Brian Plant. And
yeah. Yes. That was pretty funny. I don't have it in front of me, but anyway. Brian, thank you. That was pretty damn good. Sorry I don't have the tweet to read. I had it last week, and I did read it.
Yeah.
That's my one shout-out here during the intro.
Oh, here it is. Here it is. Hold on.
Yeah, okay. How about reading that?
All right. It's Zeus, Warlord, Road Warriors, Barbarian, Brody, Abdullah, El Gigante, Loch Ness, Giant Silva, and the Great Khali.
Good rib there, man. Good rib. Appreciate that very much. Brian, thank you for that list. That's a pretty good rib there. Appreciate it very much. Having fun with it. I think someone tried to say, hey, some of them guys could work or something, and then you come back, but I see something shiny. And I was like getting ready to go to bed, and I was like, what the hell does he mean? And I got up, took about 2 steps, and I was like, oh, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
He's looking for, or he sees something shiny. I was like, okay. But you caught on, but someone else didn't. I caught on. It was pretty good. Pretty good.
Yep. Well, that's, I try to avoid letting, because one of the other groups I run on Facebook, we had a whole political argument break out about a week ago, and I had to ban 7 people. I try not to let shit get contentious anywhere, Yeah. I just, as soon as something like that, I'm throwing a distraction and running for the goddamn hills.
Yeah, that's crazy to go online and argue with people, and
yep.
That's just, I don't do that either. Too crazy. Life's too short to worry about that stuff, man. Mm-hmm. While we're talking about, I'm going to talk about our Amazon Prime, if you don't care, real quick. I know you like your Prime. I'll let you read the ad. If you want to try Prime for 30 days free, you can use our tinyurl.com/BB try Prime link. The show gets a little bit of kickback out of that, and we appreciate you out there showing a little bit of support for the show. And it's really a tremendous offer because free to you at no risk, 30 days. And you might actually find something you really do like, streaming-wise or music-wise. I use it. I like it a lot because I get 2-day shipping. I get free shipping on things. And I mentioned a couple weeks back, I even got a couple of things next-day shipping, 1-day shipping. I'll let the professor here tell you why you should try tinyurl.com/BB try Prime.
Well, you should try it because you get it free for 30 days. That's a big one right there. You should try it because they have great television shows and movies that come free with it. I can always find something to watch when I need to. Also, one of my favorite series in the world is only available on there. It's called Corner Gas. It's from Canada. Great show. Stuff like this. So Bobby, me and my wife split up earlier this year and I moved out. And I'm still finding out what stuff didn't make the transition, right? So I go to trim my my goatee the other night, and my beard trimmer is dead, and I can't find the charging cable. I jump on Amazon, punch it up, $8. It was here the next day.
Nice.
Nice. And now my goatee is freshly trimmed, and I look like $1 million, all thanks to Amazon Prime.
Go.
Yeah.
There you go. You can bring a nice lady over to give her a little mustache goatee ride if you want back her on the futon.
I was just going to say, and if your old lady kicks you out and you don't have a place to sleep, You can buy a futon just like I did.
Oh, man, that's harsh. That's harsh, man. Oh, man. Melinda? Melanie? Who's back here?
Yeah, get your feet off the coffee table.
That's right, man. Damn, that's right. Okay, well, you want to jump into this episode this week, man? We have more. Oh, we got a couple more things we want to talk about.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what?
I don't have them in my notes.
Yeah, so we don't forget it. Let's talk about how wrestling blew up 2 weeks ago with the premiere of AEW, which was a pretty phenomenal show. Premiere of, this is the one I really liked, and we haven't even talked about it yet. NWA Power premiered at 6:05 Eastern on YouTube.
Tuesday night.
Yeah, Tuesday night, YouTube, Facebook, everywhere. I did get together with my little brother to watch that. The WWE is going to Fox, and their ratings suck, and Fox is already not happy. So they're probably going to have to either improve their product or be canceled like a regular TV show.
Yeah.
And this is where treating your wrestling like it's not wrestling is a problem for fans of wrestling. But Bobby, what was your impression of these turns of events?
Well, I was happy that we kind of got a little Wednesday night war going with the NXT and AEW. And I didn't watch either, to be honest with you. I did, I try to follow them both online, being the mark I am. Mm-hmm. The SmackDown, I watched parts of it this past Friday. I know that Hell in a Cell ended in a disqualification. That was pretty crappy. Mm-hmm. And I read all that. So I think there's a lot of WWE fans out there right now. I was very, very disappointed. The product I saw on Fox, all the graphics and the production, of course, we've talked about that before, were great because I did catch the 2 matches this week, actually, and Charlotte Flair was in a match. Anyway, but to treat it like a TV show or television program or what have you, I didn't like the way they did the draft and this and that. But again, I'm not a fan of that product. But the best thing I've seen in years, man, I watched at 6:05 on Tuesday. I watched NWA Power, and I absolutely fucking loved it. I loved it. I'm looking forward. It left me wanting to watch another hour. I was waiting for the 6:05 to go to the 7:05. And when the 7:05 hit, I was waiting for that to go to 8:05. One more episode. I'm going to watch it again this week. It was just something that's missing in wrestling today. And I liked the studio wrestling. And I know a lot of young guys out there, if you're listening right now, that's where I try to get my butt to get on that TV program with them tapings in the future. Same thing with AEW. Get out there and market yourself and get yourself over and get on some of them programs, man, because they're both going to be okay places to work at, and it could lead to, even a bigger contract somewhere else or overseas work because you're seen on TV. But I love the NWA Power myself. That was my favorite.
That was great. I really enjoyed that. I'm gonna keep some criticism to myself because it's an unfair critique for me to make. I was really hoping Tim Storm was going to pull out a win for personal reasons that Bobby and I have talked about off the air, but he did not, and now he can never hold the NWA title again, which is a bummer. I loved the feel of that room. It was like the old NWA show, but bigger. It had more bleachers. Yep. I miss the old school single camera pointing towards the ring and the crowd feel. And I think one of the Marquezes who runs Championship Wrestling from Hollywood is doing some of the production stuff, but it feels like an old school TBS wrestling broadcast.
Yeah. Big time. I enjoyed it, man. Thought they had some really talented guys there. I thought there was a couple guys that just went out there and treated it as such, the professional wrestling business. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
They really, I don't think the word's played, but played to that. They marketed to that when they come out there and they done interviews after a match or prior to a match at the podium or at the announcer's table. Not too much up into the crowd, but just enough that, hey, there looks like a show. Look at the fans that are here. Like you said, the bleachers, a little bit bigger production out of way. The cameras. I thought that one thing they don't catch sometimes on some of the other shows is if you don't know how to do a camera and there's a guy being body slammed and something's happening outside the ring and they miss both of them because they're showing a turnbuckle somewhere.
Right.
I thought everything was spot on as far as the camera work goes. When there was action in the ring, the camera was on the action in the ring. Well, when it was reversals or slams or anything like that. And the other thing I liked, not a lot of flippity floppity stuff, but just some good solid. And it's nothing against the guys that are athletic enough to do the good flippity floppity stuff and all that, but the stuff I saw I really liked because it was a good happy medium of flying and mat wrestling and working out submissions and counters and just things that to me is missing in pro wrestling. And I don't feel like anyone, and I don't know what kind of time the guys had per match, but I'll say this. It didn't look like anyone rushed anyone. They took their time and they worked through that particular match. They worked it out. Of course, they've got their own. I was surprised to see the little ads in between because I wasn't expecting it, but there was nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying I didn't know they was going to take that kind of a break. I didn't know what they was going to do. Mm-hmm. I even thought that was pretty cool how they did that, But the people came up against those breaks or whatever. I thought that all the transition was really, really smooth, I really did. My hat's off to the whole NWA and that whole group of guys that worked out a set of tapings, and I'm looking forward to this week's set.
Yeah, and there's a couple things I noticed about both AEW and NWA that I would just want to point out, and this is built off that thing that I brought up last year where there was that kid who talked about how he was a WWE fan, not a wrestling fan, and then you and I are wrestling fans, not WWE fans. The way these shows started, they are wrestling shows. Within 5 minutes in both shows, you're in the ring.
Yeah.
You're in the ring watching, here's a novel concept, watching wrestling. Also,
yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Also, Bobby, did you notice that their tag teams are actual tag teams and not just people they put together?
Yes, I like that as well.
Yeah.
I like that as well. To me, man, I'm again, it left me wanting more. And hopefully this week we'll get some more and we'll continue to grow that product, man. I'm really pleased with it. That was my highlight of the week as far as wrestling goes, I thought, because it was just, I just enjoyed the hell out of it.
Yeah, no, it was good. Now, so far on AEW, I've only seen the first and last match of the first show, but I was impressed. They also, I think this was a big deal. I don't know about week 2, but week 1, they almost doubled NXT's ratings for that night.
Wow.
NXT was like 800-something thousand, and they were almost 1.5 million. Something right there. And look, my brother's been telling me for years that if I want to see wrestling to watch NXT, I just don't want to spend money with a McMahon-owned property,
Okay.
But I understand that NXT is a good fucking show with good.
Oh, absolutely. The shows I have watched, I've watched the takeovers 4. I've watched a couple of them, and I've really enjoyed them. They got some top talented guys and girls there. I just haven't watched the last couple of weeks, but so I think that says something that for the talent that's out there between those two, just AEW and NXT. The thing about that is, I think they're going to start feeling the pressure of, there's competition again. Mm-hmm. Let's make our matches better.
Well, yeah,
everyone always tries to do what the WWE does. And what you just now said, if you come out there and talk for 20 minutes and then you have a 2-minute match or whatever, you don't copy it. Do your own damn thing, and it might just work. And that's what the NWA is doing. Mm-hmm. So hopefully AEW, when they're coming out talking for 2 or 3 minutes, hitting the ring within 5 minutes, you're watching wrestling. The WWE sees that and sees that competition. Hey, maybe they'll start doing their thing that way too. I don't know.
Yeah, but what was funny is my little brother, when I asked him about the AEW show, he goes, "It's nice to have WCW back."
That's good. Yeah, that's good, man.
Yeah.
It's good. And a shout out to Cornette, man. Done a hell of a job.
Oh, yeah. Let's, before we move on, let's talk about that real quick. Tony Schiavone has not lost a beat.
Okay.
He is doing a great job calling matches. Still has a voice I'm jealous of. Jim Cornette has forgotten more about wrestling today than anybody else will ever know. So
absolutely.
Yeah, you want to put somebody on a mic who knows what they're talking about. That's the guy you go after. I think it's awesome that Billy Corgan got him, because I didn't think you'd ever see Jim Cornette within 10 feet of a wrestling ring ever again.
Yeah, well, I'm glad he's back doing that, and I hope he continues to stick with them for the next few months or years or what have you,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not sure what his contract obligations are, but I thought he'd done a really good job, and it gave it that old school feeling again, like you said about Tony. You've got a voice you recognize, and someone you actually probably enjoy seeing and hearing every week,
Yep.
So Anyway, good deal. Good deal. So Tony Schiavone and Jim Cornette, hats off, man.
Yeah, they're doing a great job. And so we can't have Sully and Lawrence back, but we can keep them for a while. So
there you go. Yeah. There you go, man.
All right, Bobby, let's get moving on. We're going to talk about the top 10 technical wrestlers of all time. But before we get started, let's cover some shout-outs and honorable mentions.
I mentioned that shout-out earlier to Brian. Mm-hmm. I had another shout-out. I can't remember who it was, to be honest with you. Someone wrote, I was on, first of all, I'll give you two shout outs. I was on Booking the Territory last week where I won the Smoky Mountain Heavyweight title. So I want to say hello to Mike and Doc. Harper was off, but hey, it was good to interview with Mike. Had a real good time. That come across really good. I can't remember the guy who wrote in and said that it was one of these parody accounts on Twitter, but he said, Bobby walks in the back and says, hey guys, guess what? Sees Buddy Landell and a couple other people and says, you're doing a job tonight. Oh, that means you too, Lawler. And then he said, then Bobby proceeds to go out to the ring, smacks her. Well, it was really funny. And it says true story, of course. I cracked up. I can't remember who the guy was, but it was off the BT Booking the Territory podcast on one of the links there. Then also, let me give another shout out. Tim and Nate over at Wide Men Can't Jump. We had a really fun time. I did their 100th episode. Tim broke out, so we did a little bit of this and that. And then Tim broke out the fuck, marry, kill deal. Jeremy, you were mentioned in one of them. You and Tex and someone else. I had to fuck one, marry one, and kill one.
Oh, boy.
We had fun with it. He had a couple other ones. Jerry the King Lawler, Casey King, and we had a really good time. He had some weird lists, man. I'll say that. I was cracking up. I couldn't keep track of. Nate and I played it, and some of them he went first. There was 10 of them, and they got weirder and weirder. But anyway, I thank those two podcasts for having me. We'll be coming up on a Rob and Slim show here next week, live next Wednesday. So by the time you hear this, you'll hear me again. I'm sorry, that's 2 weeks from today. I'm doing the Wide Men Can't Jump's going to do a special for their a Patreon account coming up pretty soon too. So we got some good stuff that way. So hats off to those guys. That's my shout outs, Jeremy.
Oh, those are all good.
Yeah.
I don't have any shout-outs this week because, again, we've got a severe case of deja vu going here, and I did have them before, I've forgotten what they were. So, I'm just going to follow up with you and give, the same, shout-out to the Wide Man. Thank you for being as supportive of us as you have been, and to Mike Mills and the boys back at Booking the Territory, always a great show. And Rob and Slim, don't fuck with my broadcast partner this time, and I won't have to come on your show and fuck with you right in person. So
there you go.
All right, let's go to honorable mentions.
Okay, well, my first honorable mention, again, look, here's our top 10 guys and girls out there. So any of these, my honorable mentions, any of them could be in a top 10. Again, as technical wrestlers. I'm just going to throw out one. Vern Gagne is going to be my first one for an honorable mention. So what can happen to that list if you got Vern in the fucking honorable mentions,
Vern was a great wrestler, and you got to remember that part of Vern's doom was the shows he wanted to promote were going to be based on technical wrestling skill and making every match look as legitimate as possible. And during the 80s, that was what went out of favor, and the Hulk Hogan cartoony shit became what was wanted. So Vern is in the honorable mentions. This is going to be a tough nut to crack.
Yeah. You want to give another one? You want me to do all three of mine first? However you want to do it.
Yeah, go ahead and do your three.
Okay.
Yeah.
So next, Vern, of course, AWA World Heavyweight Champion. He had a tremendous amateur background, Olympian, etc. You an Olympian wrestler, legit. Lou Thez, man, legit. NWA World Heavyweight Champion. He's going to be my second honorable mention. I have nothing but respect for Lou. Great champion that he was. My list went somewhere else when we started doing our top 10. And then this one here, I had a tough time between this one and someone that I did put on a list. I have nothing but respect for this man and his family. Another NWA champion, Dory Funk Jr. I put Jr. on my honorable mention list, and I put another NWA champion during his time period on my top 10 list. Vern Gagne, Lou Thez, and Dory Funk Jr. because a lot of this business was built on those guys' backs, literally on their backs, man, and with technical wrestling skills, and believing in making it into, the professional style that we all grew up loving. Those guys really, they was out there on that driving 2-lane roads back in the day and making towns and doing 60-minute matches every night, 30 to 60 minutes and putting on clinics, wrestling clinics. So that's my honorable mentions right there.
No, those were all good ones. I'm going to do mine now. Yeah, those are all good. And if those 3 are honorable mentions, yeah, tough nut to crack to get in this top 10. Let's go with my list in no particular order. I'm going to start with Kenny Omega.
Oh,
this
wow,
is gonna
really?
Be,
okay.
Yep, this is going to be controversial, but here's the thing. Forget about him having wrestled blow-up dolls and little girls and just watch his matches. Go watch him with Okada in those 2 one-hour matches. He's a hell of a wrestler if you can get past the Jim Cornette arguments. He's a hell of a wrestler. Yeah.
I was going to say, I've seen a couple of his matches. I think I've watched 3 or 4 when they have that Kingdom. What's it called?
Wrestle Kingdom. Yeah,
Wrestle Kingdom. And I saw him wrestle a couple different guys that I know you may or may not mention, but so I won't tell you who I was. But I thought, man, he's a tremendous athlete, tremendous shape, and he looked good doing everything. It's not my cup of tea, but I'm not going to shit on the guy because he figured it out, man, how to get himself over, and more power to him. Mm-hmm. And hey, I'm glad you got him on your list, man.
Yep.
I'm surprised, but hey.
Well, I'm going to try to keep surprising people as we go here. I'm going to go with Jerry Lynn.
Good wrestler, yes.
Hell of a wrestler, and
yes,
outside of his ECW run, forgotten about way too often.
Yeah. He could wrestle, guys. He could work too.
Yeah.
Very good, yes.
No, Jerry Lynn was a hell of a wrestler, and he just gets forgotten for some damn reason or another, I am also going to go with the phenomenal AJ Styles.
Good choice, yes. That's who I saw Kenny Omega wrestle a couple of times, actually. I wasn't going to mention it because I think you'd mentioned AJ last week, so I was trying not to spoil it for anyone. But, yeah, AJ's just that, phenomenal. Mm-hmm. I mean, hell, that the Impact or TNA or whatever, hell, he was there for those years. He was the best thing going for a long time with just that company, man, nothing but love and respect for AJ, man. Tremendous wrestler and truly talented wrestler.
Oh, he was, even today, I mean, he's 45 years old now, and he's a little bit slower than he was when he was, say, 30, but not a lot. I mean, he's still got the moves down, He still looks like $1 million in the ring.
And I actually saw him wrestling on it might have been the other day when I was watching. I can't remember he was with the Bullet Club with Anderson and what's his name out there. I can't remember his working though. Shit, I know I saw it. I saw him just the other day. So I might have been on SmackDown, I guess. I can't remember. I did see him, and I tell you what, I don't know if he's lost a step or not. He looked great.
Yeah, no, he looks fantastic in the ring. I mean, he still looks great. And of course, this being a redo episode, this one's going to lose some of the awesomeness of when we first recorded, but I'm also going to go with my co-host, Bobby Blaze.
I was flattered last week, so I knew it was coming this week, so I can't react like I did last week, but I just want to say this. I'm honored that you'd even consider putting me on a list, so thank you.
Well, yeah, I'm trained by the Malenkos. Jim Cornette sings your fucking praises, and he was going to put you in the hooker's position in his own wrestling company. You can't do that unless you can wrestle, and there you go.
Thanks very much. That's more than kind. I'm honored. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, there's our honorable mentions, man.
Guys, we will probably leave off your favorite, and go ahead and if you're listening on the podcast, hate us on Twitter and Facebook and all our regular places. If this is on YouTube, leave a comment down below here, and I'll get to you eventually.
Yeah, on that YouTube, let me just throw this out there. Go to tinyurl.com/BBBB video. Like it. Comment. Hey, I know when I get a good comment, Jeremy here or Tex will send me one. I appreciate it. Tex, keep up the good work out there down there in the Buller Room. Shout out to Miss Sheila. Hope she gets well, by the way, just to let you know. But yeah, go to tinyurl.com/BBBB video and like, share, comment, and please subscribe. We're just getting close to 7,000 subscribers. It's going to be here in the next few weeks. There should be some more videos up. I know we're working on the top 10 football players that become professional wrestlers, but there's a legitimate badasses list out there. There's the managers list out there. All the women that we wanted to be our Valentines in a really respectful ways out there. If you haven't, go ahead and give it a a like and a retweet or a share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So there you go. I got that one out of the way, Jeremy. I know I jumped ahead of notes, but you was talking about YouTube. So
no, that was a good time to do it. Well, let's get rolling here. Let's go with number 10, Bob Backlund.
Ooh, good one.
Yeah.
WWW or WWF champion back in the day, but a legitimate amateur wrestler out of Minnesota, AAU, and man, just always took such good care of himself and was that babyface. I know it's kind of like I said, guys, we're doing a redo, so it's kind of hard to not. I'm not trying to not sound as enthusiastic as I was last week. It's one of the things where we discussed how big a baby face he was, and he had worked all these different areas, and one of them being he had been down in Florida, and I think you're going to talk about Kansas City, if I'm not mistaken. That was the other place, I think you told me. But down in Florida, I guess Vince Sr. wanted a good baby face to come up there against Graham, and I guess it was going to be between Steve Kern and Bob Backlund. That's the story I heard, and they took Backlund up there. Now, I know Kern was really over down there in Florida, and each of their careers worked out the way it did for the best, but I know he worked a lot of different places, and he was always a good baby face.
He worked all over the place. I believe he started with the AWA because he was trained by Eddie Sharkey, and Eddie's students pretty much went to the AWA typically.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to point out, because this will become a repeated thing, born in Minnesota, okay, NCAA champion, trained with Eddie Sharkey, joined the AWA. He went on after leaving the AWA to wrestle the NWA, and he beat Terry Funk for the Western States title, which was their primary championship in the Funk territory.
Yep.
He then went over to GCW, and he teamed with Jerry Briscoe for the tag team championships. And then he went over into championship wrestling from Florida, where I believe he won a singles title and tag title there. And it was shortly after that he went back and defeated Harley Race for the Missouri Heavyweight Championship in '76. And sometime we're going to have to cover the Omaha, Missouri, and some of those weird heavyweight titles that we don't really talk about anymore.
Yeah.
Because in their day, they were a big deal, you know.
Yeah. We talked about how those were stepping stones to the NWA title, or that Missouri state title. I didn't realize that till when Harley Race passed away, and I listened to several other podcasts about it. When you hold that title, it obviously it meant something to everyone that holds it, but also the prestige of it is they're lining you up for something bigger.
Yeah.
And I love the way it works. We've talked about titles before. We've talked about how that Intercontinental title, should set you up for the main title, different things like that. So anyway, that's good stuff to know about Bob Backlund. That's good, man.
And then just his in-ring ability was outstanding.
Yeah.
Well, obviously he was a champion, legit wrestler. Yeah. And then, he was high enough quality that everywhere he went, he was put into a championship scene pretty much immediately. Yeah. He's just a hell of a wrestler.
Okay, this next one, number 9, he comes from wrestling background, from amateur all the way up to professional. And I'll put this on here. Tex said this, quote, "My favorite guy from blending chain wrestling with high spots and sound psychology, so it all made sense and didn't look choreographed or staged." And that is Eddie Guerrero. And I love what Tex said, because I actually got to wrestle with Eddie Guerrero several times. And what do you think about that pick there? And I'll tell you a story about wrestling Eddie.
Well, anybody with the last name Guerrero could technically be on this list. It was Mondo Guerrero that Gene LaBelle used in his Pro Wrestling Finishing Hold book. And for people who aren't like students of pro wrestling, or not from Southern California, or that southwestern part of the country, may not know the other Guerreros, but for those of us from these backgrounds, that Guerrero name's been around longer than I've been alive. So, so Eddie Guerrero, obviously the one to make it biggest out of those guys, world champion, a hell of an in-ring performer. Just whether he was on the mat or off his feet, in the air, just technically as sound as you can get.
Yep. And I got to work with Eddie. I worked with him, and we wrestled each other in Erie, Pennsylvania. And I remember it because it was cold as a horse hard outside and had about 3 foot of snow. And I drove in from like Buffalo or somewhere. It's one of those, memories you have. And, Eddie, I saw my name on the board for Eddie, and I I had seen Eddie around, talked to him. He's friend with Malenko and a couple other guys. And so I always talked to him, always courteous, always professional. I actually had met him prior to going to WCW. He was already there. And I went to dinner with him and Dean Malenko one night after a show, just because I happened to go to the show and was talking about getting a tryout. But nonetheless, we got basically in the back. He said, you know what? They take you in the back and they say, make it 50-50, in the war room, or make it 60-30, or, if the guy's just going to do a flat out just eat you up or whatever. But Eddie was like, we come out of the room and Eddie was like, hey, Bobby, here's the thing. He said, my dad told me if I don't, I learned this business, from my dad. And, if I go out there and just beat you up, I'll beat no one. He says, so let's have a good match, have a competitive match. And basically I knew that his, finish was the frog splash. And other than that, man, we didn't – I went my way, he went his way. And next thing I know, I'm going out to the ring. He comes out to the ring, and we start, and that was that. He gave me so much back and forth. We just knew how to work, wrestle, and he's so light in the ring. It's unbelievable how light and smooth he is. And wrestling, we just worked, man. It was so beautiful. And it looked like that I was going to win. I mean, until I missed however that went down, and he beat me with the frog splash. And it's just one of those things, just an honor to be in the ring with him. And I wrestled another time in Sarasota, Florida, just the opposite, because it's down there. It was hot, and I was in the summer. They was getting ready to leave, I think. It was starting up the friction stuff. And he come out and he said, Bobby, just beat me up tonight. Just stay on me. And so I worked a little bit different style. Didn't, obviously not beating him up stiff or anything like that. But he just gave me a lot more of the match. And I just carried the match, and he did every little thing, nothing choreographed. We just worked, put myself in position for the frog splash, and that's that. Always a smile on his face and always a kind word, always thanked me. And he did that to a lot of boys. He always treated, everyone very, very fair. And I just really was glad to have shared the ring with Eddie Guerrero, and that's why he makes this list. He's so smooth and technical, and just blending it all together, man. It didn't have to look like it's choreographed, so it's just that good. So that's number 9, Eddie Guerrero.
Normally we would have put a spot in here for the tiny URL for BB video, which I just did again, so go check out our videos on YouTube. Bobby, I was going to say, I'm trying to get some voiceover work off of Fiverr these days, and I just had an idea, and I'm going to run this past you and see what you think. Say, like, you got some guy who's working the indie scene, right? Some wrestler. I'm sure they have to put together some kind of sizzle reel to send out to promoters to see if they can go work for them, right?
Oh, yes.
Guys, if you've got like a 5 or 10 minute match and you want me to voice over the color or play-by-play or something on it, hit me up on Fiverr. I'll do it for $5. 5 or 10 minutes. You just tell me what you want. How's that sound?
That's a great idea, man. Some of them guys out there could use that.
Yeah.
I told several of these guys around here, get you a DVD to get some pictures and get a good little DVD together, about 5 to 7 minutes, and send it off to the NWA and send it off to AEW. And there's one guy around here that's the WWE. He worked for him in summer up in Cincinnati, actually. They've got his name, and when they come back around, he'll probably get used again. And that's Chase Armstrong. I'll give him a shout out there. So, yeah, get your stuff together. Get you a professional. Use Jeremy the Professor. Has got a great voice here. I know he's working on the West Texas State football program for us for our YouTube channel. You hear his voice every week. If you're out there, guys, get Jeremy to do some background for you, the voiceover. Just get a hold of him on Fiverr. How do they reach you on that for that $5 price, Jeremy? Which is a tremendous price, folks. Okay, just go to Jeremy Vilmer. I know I'm on Fiverr, Bobby Blaze 744. And what I do is I'll send out tweets for you. If you got a wrestling promotion, if you got a business, if you want something, I've got like 160,000, real and active Twitter followers. And I tweet a lot about professional wrestling and a lot about books. But I just do it for $5, and I'll do that for 3 days, really. So you're getting 3 to 5 tweets. 3 to 5 3 days. So you're getting between 3 to 15 tweets resent every day. And if you get a hold of me at Bobby Blaze 744 on Fiverr, I'm also at Bobby Blaze 744 on Twitter. Jeremy on Fiverr, he's going to give you his link in just a second, but his name is Jeremy Vilmer, of course. But on Twitter, he's under the Geekish Cast. And then also on the Twitter, you can get a hold of us on a joint account at Bell to Bell Blaze. And then you get a hold of us there, like, comment, share, subscribe, all those fun things, man. You got that link, Jeremy, or just under your name?
Yeah, you know what? I think the way to do it is just search me, because I'm still new enough that I really don't know how it works. But I can tell you this. If you need anything done on Fiverr and you want to help the show out at the same time as getting some help for whatever project you're working on, tinyurl.com/bb5er, but with just the one R, Fiverr, how it's normally spelled, will take you to Fiverr through our affiliate account, where you will help out the show by hiring artists and technicians to help out with whatever project you got going. Then, if you need a voiceover or somebody to tweet out some info about whatever you're doing, you can go and search for me and Bobby on there, and we'll do that as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I'll tell you what, I use Fiverr a lot. I've bought a book cover from there. I've got voiceover work done before. I'm going to actually order Jeremy to do a upcoming voice work for me for my book, my second book. I've already got one for Pin Me Pay We, but I'll get another one. Jeremy and I'll talk off there, and I'm gonna do that, and just helping each other out and also helping the show out, guys. What was that? tinyurl.com/BB5er, and that's the affiliate account to help the program out a little bit. Appreciate that.
Yep.
Good looking out, Jeremy.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Here's the thing. It's like when I was starting into podcasting, I used Fiverr all the time to get music written, to get graphics done. Of course, I made a lot more money back then and could do that. But it's a great place to find talent at, free market rates. Don't go there to just be a cheap ass. Go there to let the job price itself and get good quality work. I can tell you that. Yeah. Because you are going to get guys from Pakistan and other parts of the world where $5 is a lot of money, and you're going to get shit work out of it. So
I always pay a little bit extra.
Yeah, not that good work doesn't come out of Pakistan. It's just I've seen a lot of scammy shit out of Asia. So anyhow, let's move on to number 8. Randy.
Yeah, who you got?
Randy Orton.
Okay, Randy Orton, very smooth, man, very smooth. And I know he was a high school wrestling champion, I think in Kansas and Missouri, the Kansas City area. He just third generation wrestler. I guess he's now calling out The Rock for who's the better of the third generation wrestlers, but he had Bob Orton Sr. and Bob Orton Jr., who was always one of my favorites when I was growing up. I loved Bobby Orton Jr., man. But Orton, man, Randy just looks so smooth when he does stuff. Just the way he paces himself, and he's got that big, lean body, stronger what he looks like, and just makes everything look really, just puts it all together technically and smoothness, and he just really deserves to be on this list. Randy Orton.
Yeah, absolutely. Randy, you know what? He has taken Diamond Dallas Page's Diamond Cutter and kind of elevated that move. And I always loved it when DDP did it.
Yeah.
But Randy Orton is such a good mover in the ring that, and I know it's a quote out of nowhere, but yeah, he can literally hit you with that move from any point at any time from any position. And that's pretty impressive. It
sure is. Sure is. I think you also liked his kick, didn't you?
Oh, I forgot all about that. Yeah. His career ending head punt. I mean, it's lost some of its funniness now, but that looked just meaner than shit when he pulled that off.
It sure did, man. Yeah. It sure did. So, man, let's move on to number 7. I'll give you a little bit of background here. This is from Tex. Tex about this person says, he could mat wrestle or brawl, but nobody ever bumped better than Mr. Perfect. And I don't care if you do holds or counters, and holds is the meaning of technical wrestling. Anyone making the audience believe what your opponent is doing is devastating as a technique, often lost to 15 false finishes, and that's none other than Mr. Perfect, Curt Hennig, and I think he's one of the greatest, if not the greatest bump taker of all time, the way he did stuff, but also he was a hell of a good wrestler, mat wrestler, from amateur all the way up to the professional level. Another Minnesota guy there, Jeremy. What do you think about coming at number 7, Curt Hennig?
Well, Curt Hennig is in one of my all-time favorite matches. Like you pointed out there, another Robbinsdale, Minnesota guy. Longtime AWA guy. The first time I saw Curt Hennig wrestle, he was tag team partners with Big Scott Hall when he still had Magnum TA hair. The match that I remember most was when I saw it was on New Year's Eve on ESPN when I was a kid, and it was Curt Hennig versus Nick Bockwinkel for an hour to a draw.
Wow.
For the
that
AWA.
Had to be great.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit slow now if you go back and watch it, but if you want to see great rest holds and technical wrestling, it's also the first time I'd ever seen a pro wrestler use the Indian Deathlock in a match.
Nice, man. That match is on YouTube, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe that's where I saw it last, was on YouTube. Yeah. Curt Hennig was fantastic. I mean, I don't remember if his grandfather was a wrestler, but his father was Larry the Axe Hennig. Definitely, a star in his day. Curt Hennig there was nobody else who could be called Mr. Perfect and deserve it quite as much as he did.
I agree with that, man. He was a hell of an athlete. Hell of an athlete. They said some of those takes they did were one takes. Yeah, number 7, Kurt Hennig. Let's go on to number 6. This is someone I had the privilege of being in the ring with also. I think this guy is a tremendous talented guy. You can call him Steve or William Regal. I got to be around him in WCW. Man, William Regal is just so smooth, great English style. I was doing some tag matches with him and Dave Taylor, and man, it was just like being in a ring with yourself. It's just like you just guide around and move around. And the guy has so much wrestling ability and knowledge too. And also he's got a really good book. It's called Walking a Golden Mile, because he's one of them guys from over in England that broke in at the age of like 16. I enjoyed that book. I read it a couple of summers ago. I know you can get it on a download for about $3, but if you go to tinyurl.com/BB Regal Gold, and it is a good book, folks. It really is. You can get that book using that tinyurl.com/BB Regal Gold. I'll let Jeremy finish you up about how much that book may cost in print, and also some of his comments about Mr. William Regal.
Well, yeah, the last time I looked up that book, which was last Sunday when we were talking about it, it was like $900 in print.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's still the case this week, but it definitely was last week. William Regal, Steve Regal, Darren Kenneth Matthews, so to speak. He's one of those guys that when he was like 25, he looked 50. But yeah. He is, I'm going to give him technical proficiency, not only at wrestling, but at playing his character. Because when he came out to the ring, or when he comes out to the ring, he looks at the audience with such disdain that even the first time you watch him wrestle, you fucking hate him before he even gets through the ropes. That is technical proficiency right there. But then he gets in the ring, and he is 100% go from start to finish.
Yeah.
That guy wrestles in that European style, which is a little more catch influenced, looks a little rougher. And Bobby, you worked with him, but I mean, he looks like he plays pretty fucking stiff all the time.
Oh, he's one of those guys that just is really snug. Yeah. He just really snug in a good way. He'll tell you, he'll put his forearm across the medius part of your body if he does a forearm, across the chest or across the back, but he's going to lay it in there, and I respect that so much. Mm-hmm. I tell you, I don't know that I've ever seen William Regal have a bad match. If they're out there, that a lot of his matches, and if you're a young and up-and-coming wrestler, watch him. Watch his facial expressions when he does sell. Watch when he is on the attack. His character was him. Everything was so solid. Like I said, I call it more not stiff. I call it just that solid work rate and lay it in there and make it look good. Mm-hmm. And just so smooth doing it too, though. Just the transitions of going back and forth, and that whole European style, man, is just. I really like that style. I like working with a lot of those guys. I was, just being trained by the Malenkos, I guess, and getting to travel to some of the countries I got to travel to. Because I did get to travel to England. I was over there for, 30, 32 days, something like that at one point, and worked with some of those guys. And, man, just to pick up that kind of style is really good. William Regal's top of that list, man. I really have a lot of respect for him.
Oh, yeah. And then if you want to see, this guy could wrestle, like do those single leg pickups and those come behinds and turnarounds and stuff that you really don't see a lot of anymore. Yeah. But a nice chain movement. But he can also brawl. And if you want to see that, go watch any match with him and Fit Finley.
There you go.
And those guys, they're not trying to kill each other, but they're laying those punches in. They're landing punches. Also, Bobby, did you know you and William Regal have something in common?
No, what's that?
You both took Bill Goldberg off his feet.
Oh, that's right. You're right about that. I did. Yep. You're right. Man, I tell you, one of the better Regal stories too is Robbie Brookside was telling me when I saw him over in England, and he's now one of the coaches down there at the Performance Center, and I know Regal still works for WWE as well. They were at the power plant. Now, I wasn't there, but I've heard this from firsthand, and then a couple other people told me too, was apparently Robbie Brookside and William Regal got in a ring one day down at the power plant and were working out. And they went about 45 minutes, and everyone that was there thought they was in there shooting on each other. they just was in there working out. There's in and out countering holds, forearms, go behinds, like you said, every little thing. And I don't think Robbie said they didn't even speak. They just knew each other so well. That's probably both, 10 or 12 years into career at that time, maybe even 15 years. I don't know. But, man, they apparently just went there and was going to do a workout to get a sweat going. And some of the other boys, younger boys from the power plant started like gathering around the ring thinking they was in there shooting. They ended up doing like 45 minutes of just in and outs and forearms and slams and go behinds and every little thing you can imagine. And I guess they had put on a fucking wrestling clinic that day. And I thought that was pretty cool that I heard that story. So I wish I could have seen it, but knowing how both those guys work and even the Finleys, man, I can only imagine, how good it was.
Oh, yeah. And there's, that English or UK style, I guess is what you'd call it, because the Irish are the same way. But they train rough. They train legit catch wrestling. I'm not saying that American wrestlers don't, but they still train some crazy pickups and turnarounds, and like we talked about, arm bar to stepping on the back of the knee to put them down, and little technical moves that are kind of lost now in American wrestling, but I bet we'll see again soon. But those guys over there, they train in that way, and the way they like that European uppercut. I can tell you, if you forearm somebody under their chin like that, you're gonna knock them the fuck out eventually. So, there's just some moves that are just nasty that are very particular to the UK. Just, it looks realistic. It looks like you're gonna shit your pants if they get a hold of you.
Yeah, them forearms. The receiving end of them. All right, man. Well, we're getting ready to get into our top 5. So real quickly here, number 10 was Bob Backlund. Number 9, Eddie Guerrero. Number 8, Randy Orton. Number 7, Kurt Hennig. 6 was William Regal, as you just heard. Before I give you number 5, Jeremy, I know you've got a red one. I know Texas got a blue one, and I'm waiting for someone to gift me mine, and that is the Pin Me, Pay Me Bobby Blaze t-shirt, because that's a different one than the one I've had that I've sold for years. This comes through another company. So if you want to help out the program a little bit, these t-shirts are about $20. The show gets a small percent of a kickback from that, and hopefully somebody will go to Tex, somebody will go to Jeremy, somebody will go to me, but we're going to put it right back in the pot towards our co-hosting fees and hosting fees and things like that. But if you want one of those t-shirts, I know there's some pictures floating around. Maybe Jeremy will put one up this week. I know Tex has one. I'll see if he'll put one up of them wearing them. It's the Pin Me, Pay Me Bobby Blaze t-shirt. You can go to tinyurl.com/Pin Me Shirt. And they're really nice shirts. I've yet to get one, but I'm going to. I've just got a lot of other stuff going on, folks. Believe that. But, and I'm not bitching, moaning, and complaining. I'm just telling you the truth. But tinyurl.com/Pin Me Shirt, and you can get you a Pin Me, Pay Me Bobby Blaze t-shirt. And I think they look really, really nice. Get you one.
Yeah, it's a great design that Tex put together for us. Like right when we were first starting to talk to Tex, he hit us up and he's like, hey, I've got these designs I did, and I've got this idea for a YouTube page that I'd like to do as a fan. And that's how that relationship with us started. Now we all got each other's phone numbers, and we all speak fairly frequently. But
yes,
it's a nice looking shirt. You should go check it out, and if you like it, you should buy one.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into our top 5 here. I know time-wise, Jeremy, we're doing all right today. I think we went a little bit, we're about 50 minutes into our podcast here, so bear with us. We always try to keep it at a respectable time, but, of course, we try to pass on a lot of knowledge and have fun during the podcast as well. Number 5, all right, you was talking earlier about English style. We was talking about how doing a catch and catch can wrestling. This next guy right here, he attended a fabled Snake Pit, started with the legendary Billy Riley. He's a wrestler, catch wrestler, tough guy. He had been to Japan a lot. His name is Billy Robinson. He's in the Hall of Fame from the Wrestling Observer in 1996. He's in the International Wrestling Hall of Fame. I don't know a whole lot about him other than I know he was tough because I know him and Gotch had some matches in Japan. I know he held his own there, and I know that they also had a little argument that was straightened out, and apparently that was, Gotch was like, okay, here's the way it's going to be, and it's like, okay, you're right, kind of thing, because he is fucking Carl Gotch. But there's some matches on YouTube of him and Marty Jones and him and Johnny Saint. And what's funny was last week I couldn't think of it until I got right to this point of the podcast when I had Johnny Saint on my notes. Someone about 6 months ago, a fan, sent me some YouTube footage and asked me, and I'd seen this guy, and it was actually of Johnny Saint, and who was he working? Billy Robinson. So I watched that here about 6 months ago, sent in by a fan, so I appreciate that. They sent it to me on my Twitter feed there. And anyway, Billy Robinson, what do you got for us?
Well, Billy Robinson was actually at the Snake Pit for 8 years, and the Snake Pit was such a brutal training facility, they didn't even have a toilet. If you had to go to the bathroom, you either needed to run outside or you had to hold it until the training was done. You know, they did not countenance weakness of any kind there. I mean, and it's like the Snake Pit was here in Florida. They'd send you back out of there broken, naked, and bleeding if you flinched at all. Trained over there and toured, you know, the UK and Europe for quite some time. He held, the British title, I believe in 67 to 70. And that's when he went to America, was in 1970, where he joined Vern Gagne's AWA. And I'm going to say this again, but for our younger audience members, you don't remember when the AWA was actually, it was them and the NWA were the two premier worldwide wrestling organizations.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We've grown up at AWA, and NWA meant something, guys.
Yeah. And
sure did.
So right when he gets here, Vern Gagne hires him, and I brought it up when talking about Vern earlier. Vern had a reputation for hiring the real guys, the legit wrestling guys, like guys who were technically proficient and just studs. While he was there, Billy held the AWA British Empire Heavyweight Champion, which he defended in Canada and the United States. He was in that movie, The Wrestler, that Ed Asner, Vern Gagne, and those guys had made.
Yeah.
He defeated Dino Bravo for the international championship, which I believe was the Grand Prix title up there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He also held the tag team championships with Pierre Mad Dog Lefevre, and he wrestled to a 60-minute time limit draw against Bob Backlund in 1982 in Montreal.
Nice. I just saw a clip. Shane Storm tagged me in a clip. It was from a wrestling camp, and it said, "Thanks to Bobby Blaze, I can do this." But who it was at a wrestling camp, and it was Billy Robinson. And he took a guy by the arm, and he did a big wizard, and he shot his leg up and done a Cornish hype. And man, I tell you, when I learned that down at Malenko, it was one of the neatest things I ever learned. You do a wizard where you hook a guy's arm, and you can't really go anywhere, and you kick your leg back across his thighs, and he really has no choice but to go down on that. And several people commented on it with someone else's Twitter they sent me, and I was just like, it was really nice, man. It was a beautiful execution of moves and stuff, and them guys just knew how to do stuff so good. So if you ever go online and find some stuff with Billy Robinson, it's well worth your time, especially if you like wrestling and to catch wrestling. And again, kind of go back to the William Regal thing. To see someone, if they got a brawl, they'll lay it in there too, man. And good choice there for number 5. I know number 4, and I'm gonna let you introduce number 4 because, man, it's someone I know you love.
There is a guy who was such a great villain that I think he deserves points just for that, but he never wrestled the same match twice. He was a 4-time AWA World Champion, a 3-time AWA World Tag Team Champion, and that is Nick Bockwinkel.
Man, great choice. We first started our program, you and I had our deal. We was going to set it up to between, who's the greatest wrestler of all time, him or the Nature Boy Ric Flair. And by the end of the conversation, like, fuck, you convinced me, man. Mm-hmm. Bockwinkel's the man, And, and I'd said this last week. I'd just be redundant. I've mentioned it before. About 2 years ago, I got on YouTube and did a bunch of Nick Bockwinkel matches, all day, just watched Bockwinkel. When it's wintertime, it's cold, and I was sitting here just watching. I like all day is watching Bockwinkel matches. That's before Jeremy and I, actually right around the time Jeremy and I started talking, and then come to find out he's a Bockwinkel fan, that's adds to it. And then we was discussing, it's like, I don't know if you find a flaw wrong with the guy. He had these great interviews, and I know we're talking technical wrestling though, but he had that great body. But that's just it. He could wrestle and work too. And like Jeremy said, you don't think he ever had the same match twice, because he probably knew 2 or 3 moves. Everyone else playing checkers, he in there playing chess. He's 3 or 5 moves ahead of everyone else already on the mat or in anything else he was doing in the ring. Ring general, if you will.
No, he was fantastic to watch. I mean, and he might have been a little bit slower compared to today's matches, but if you want to see just out and out technical proficiency, there's this thing. They say that Nick read the dictionary and thesaurus to pick out words that he could talk over the audience's head with. I have to think there was also a book of wrestling holds somewhere that he read to pick out 2 or 3 new moves a week that just nobody else would ever use, because Like I said, the first time I ever saw an Indian Deathlock in a match was Nick Bockwinkel, who just suddenly busted it onto Kurt Hennig, and I was like, I don't even know what that one's called, and I'm pretty familiar with most pro wrestling holds.
Yeah, good deal, man.
Yeah, he was trained by his father, who was also a pro wrestler, Warren Bockwinkel, and Lou Thez. That was after he had attended University of Oklahoma on a football scholarship, but banged up his knee and then had to go in a different direction.
Yeah. Yeah, he was very well educated. I think he graduated from UCLA eventually, didn't he?
I believe so. I do know he's in an episode of the Monkees.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Good looking man, too. Good looking man. All right, you want to move on to number 3 here?
Yeah, let's go on to number 3.
Okay, well, this is the man I put at number 3. Now, let me say this. We talked about this briefly last week. We could have put this man at number 4 and Bockwinkel at number 3. We had the same option when we recorded today. We decided not to do it. It just flowed better. Also, when I mentioned Dory Funk Jr. earlier, this is who I picked over him. I'll go with, again, including our man down in the boiler room. Tech said, I loved watching his old matches and totally get into the slow build up of the drama in them. A simple high spot could mean so much. To this day, I pop when someone reverses out of a wrist lock and step to the back of his opponent's knee into the arm bar. And you mentioned that earlier about Regal. This is he was an NWA champion with Jack Briscoe. So I'm putting NWA champion Jack Briscoe. He was All-American wrestler. He went to Oklahoma, I think, Native American, and a great NWA champion, a great technical wrestler.
Well, any Briscoe could go on this list, absolutely. Jack Briscoe, he is one of only 2 sets of brothers to hold the NWA title, Bobby, the other one being another favorite of yours, Dory and Terry Funk.
Nice.
Jack, let's see, Jack, where did he go to school? It was in Oklahoma, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So another, another Oklahoma State person who went on to a huge wrestling career. NCAA championship, I'm pretty sure.
Yep, think so.
And also quit the business in the coolest way I've ever heard of.
Yeah. What I heard was, I guess, and they down here in Tampa, they had Briscoe's Body Shop. And when I was training, I'd hear their ads during the Tampa Bay football games sometimes, and I knew where it was at. Of course, I didn't drive by there or anything, but sometimes just that serves as a memory. What I heard was so they had a body shop, and I guess they had other business ventures and probably stuck his thumb in a business here or there. But I guess they got off an airplane. They flew into like JFK, where I don't know, they flew from Tampa, if they flew from another town or wherever they flew in from, but apparently they was walking across the tarmac and he just looked at his brother and said, that's it, I'm going home. And he went in, and he's like, I guess it was Jerry and a couple other people were there, and he said, I'm going home, I've had enough, and walked across the tarmac with them, got off one plane, walked across tarmac, went into the airport, and got on booked himself on another flight, went to Tampa, and didn't look back. He was just done.
Yeah,
so that's a pretty cool way to walk away from it.
Yeah, if you got to quit, that's quitting in style right there.
Yeah. But I guess they came in from one town and they was heading to another, and he said, I've had enough. I'm heading to Tampa. So, all right. Anything else about Mr. Briscoe?
Well, it's just, for the younger people watching it, again, I'm going to say this a lot about these older guys. It may be a different pace than you're used to.
Right, yeah.
But go watch a Jack Briscoe match just for the technical ability. Guys didn't jump up in the air a whole lot. A jump kick during his career or a drop kick was still kind of a special move. So it's going to be a different pace. But go check out a Jack Briscoe match. And I'd put him up there with Race, with Bockwinkel, with Flair. Any of those guys.
Yeah. You said, that NWA and AWA, those territories and those titles, they really meant something back in the day for the guy that had that strap around their waist. So.
Yeah. Hey, Bobby, I hear not only do you have a podcast about pro wrestling, but you've written a couple books. Why don't you tell us about them?
Oh, yes, I have. I've written a couple books, man. I tell you what, I've got Pin Me, Pay Me, Have Boots Will Travel. Both of these books are available on Amazon, but I'm going to tell you a way you can get my books. With Christmas season coming up, if you've already have a copy, get one for the wrestling fan or the wrestling fan in your family, the wrestling friend that hasn't read this book yet. Get them their own copy. You can go to Amazon and get them. You can download it on Kindle. But what you can also do, if you want Pin Me, Pay Me, Have Boots Will Travel, you can go to tinyurl TinyURL.com/blazebook1. Really simple. And also, I get a smile on my face because I get to sell a book. I get a little kickback that way. Jeremy gets a little smile on her face because the program, podcast gets a little bit kickback that away. And it keeps our hosting fees down to a minimum so we can bring you the show, if not every week, at least every other week, as we mentioned. My second book, I kicked out on 2, The Educational Wrestler. You can get that at tinyurl.com/blazebook2. And I just say this real quickly. I do check on the reviews. I appreciate the reviews. I'm going to give you the segue there, Jeremy, for the podcast review. But if you go to tinyurl.com/blazebook1, you can get Pin Me, Pay Me. If you want, I kicked out on 2, go to tinyurl.com/blazebook2. And I've just got 2 reviews this past week, and I do appreciate them. Someone had something really nice to say about one of my books and gave me a real nice 5-star review. The other one was a real nice 3-star review. But again, I mentioned this last week. I'll just mention it really again briefly because it's redundant here. But I read her 3-star review, and I thought, what in the world? I'd buy this book. It was a great review. And I looked, the guy had 2 other wrestling books and like a Black & Decker drill or something, and he left 3-star reviews on them. But he wrote up a really nice review, and I thought, fuck, I'd buy that, But he was hard the way he judged them, I guess, on his stars. He just didn't give out 5 stars. He wasn't. But you know what? I appreciate any review. So I got 103 reviews on Pin Me, Pay Me. I thank everyone that has left a review. I don't comment on those. I read them and I appreciate them. Good, bad, or indifferent. The reviews help authors sell books. And then I got 20 reviews and I kicked out on 2 now, and I appreciate that. And Jeremy, how can they maybe leave a review or rate this program?
Well, anywhere you listen to us, whether it's on iTunes or any pod facility, there's a bunch of different places to catch us now. I believe we're on Spotify. We're on iHeartRadio, I'm pretty sure. But yep. Wherever you find us, and you should have the ability to both rate and review, please, if you enjoy the show, leave a 5-star review. That will make it easier for other wrestling fans who would enjoy the show to find us. But also, if you have something nice to say about us, go ahead and leave a review as well as a rating. And if there's something that we're doing that's bothering you, feel free to leave that in there. We'll address it in one way or another. But also, if you catch us on YouTube, please subscribe, hit the bell so that way you get a notification when a new video comes up, and leave stuff in the comments. I am trying to get more active in the commenting section. I come up as, I believe, just under my name, Jeremy Vilmer, because Tex actually hosts the show. So when you see From Bell to Bell with Bobby Blaze on YouTube, it's Tex who puts it up, and then if I respond, it'll be under my own name.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Please rate, review, subscribe, share with your friends. Get out there. If you know a wrestling fan, tell them about this show. Tell them about Bobby's book. Tell them about how Bobby is one of only 2 people to take Bill Goldberg off his feet in a wrestling ring. And then help out the show, because we enjoy doing this, and we hope you enjoy listening to it.
Yes, that's right. Well, let's finish up here. We got number 2 and number 1. I'll read something real quickly from Tex once again. I conclude him in his podcast. He wrote up some good notes. He put, I don't know of anyone who blended amateur and professional wrestling together any better. He had a technical skill and an innate ability to entertain like no other. What fucking, he used that entertain word. Huh? What? That's anyway. All right. Okay. No, I agree with him. This guy, man, Olympic wrestling champion, Olympic gold, Kurt Angle, man. What a great technical wrestler. But, man, did he ever learn to turn it into those suplexes and turn it into the professional style that we love so much today. I don't know what more I could say about Kurt Angle, man. He just technical skill is there, no doubt.
Well, his technical skill was there. He was a suplex machine.
Yes.
He wrestled with a broken neck. He had a level of intensity very few people can match. But, just his in-ring proficiency was outstanding. There is a thing I want to point out here that you and, Dan Severn, you guys had a match where it was very much styled after a UFC-style match.
Yes.
And then 5 to 10 years later, Angle and Samoa Joe did very much the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, it was kind of cool to see the different types of throws and walks that could be done in that way, the low leg kicks, kind of like the side snap mare. Things like that were kind of cool to see how they could be done in different ways. But I'd really say you and Dan Severn pioneered that style of quote-unquote pro wrestling match. But Kurt Angle did it, and it looked pretty good doing it as well. Kurt Angle,
yeah.
Kurt
I
Angle,
appreciate that. It, as I mentioned with the Severn interview, when we did that, and that's available on YouTube also at the YouTube channel, BB video. But yeah, we both talked about that. We blended a really good style together with the kind of UFC, MMA, and the wrestling, all, pro style together with the suplexes, the kicks, basically kick, suplexes, and submissions. And I used to do that sometimes on Sundays down at Malenko's, just to stay in shape and also get my ass whipped a little bit, but also to tough my ass up a little bit, but kick, suplex, and submissions. And it's, I tell you, I'm loved that I got that experience. Of course, Angle's on a whole different level, as was Severn, but Angle done it with Samoa Joe, and I think that was when it was TNA or whatever, one of their pay-per-views or whatever it was. Wasn't that correct? Or Impact, or I can't remember what it was.
It was still TNA at the time, I'm pretty sure.
TNA. Okay, that's what I thought too, TNA. But I know they did it, and it's you just got to go in there and bust your ass. That's what you got to do, man. Have some kind of gentleman's agreement that, it's business only, but we're going to go at it. But yeah, Kurt Angle, man, very, very technical, very, very aggressive, suplex machine. Again, that's, he could have easily been number one. Any of these guys could have been number one. We get up here in these top, 3 and 4 and 5s, man. Any of them could be number one. But anyway, anything else to say about Kurt Angle?
No, he was a hell of a technician in the ring. I mean, he really left it all out there for us. When we watched him, great career, great wrestler, great technician. If it weren't for who is number one, yeah, you're right. He could be a number one.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. People are probably going to be surprised as who we put as number one, but then again, you might not be. We had several lists. Let me say this, because it's been a couple weeks and the tweets just keep on coming and going. I had about 5 people send in a list of 10, and some of these guys, you got about 50 or 60% of them all had several of these guys on here. So this was a blend of Jeremy, a blend of Tex, a blend of me, and a blend of you, the fans. But the one we selected to be number one, and I have no qualms about putting it because I do feel this way, man. The number one greatest technical wrestler of all time, in my book, is Dean Malenko. Dean the Machine, the man of 1,001 holds, man. I mean, Dean could just go. He could wrestle, samba, amateur wrestling, technical. He trained people and taught people from stage 1 through, all the way to the end of the career. Gave advice, still working in a wrestling profession. Just a great trainer, and man, he could just go. His brother could go. Jody could go. Jody was more of a shooter and a good technician as well. But Dean, he just knew how to put that performance together as far as getting in that ring and just being aggressive and have that stare and be going in and out of moves and holds and putting the psychology behind the matches and stuff. Dean is the man to me.
Dean Malenko is a guy, I declared him and one other person be the future of pro wrestling. I sure wish they had given him a manager. I know managers were no longer really in vogue starting around that time, but if somebody else had been running that microphone and you could just let him do all his talking in the ring,
yep,
that could have been huge.
Yes.
Huge. I work with a guy who listens to us frequently, and he watched pro wrestling in like the last 10 years, but nothing really before that, not really familiar with a whole lot of stuff before that. But when we first started talking about this, I just asked him, I go, who would you say is the greatest technical wrestler? He goes, Dean Malenko. It's not even a question, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's out there to the point where people who only kind of remember seeing him wrestle, even they know that, off the fireman's carry into the gut buster move, that thing was incredible.
God. Yeah, he was so strong. People don't realize how strong Dean was. He was also one of those guys that had tendon and ligament strength we talk about sometimes. Mm-hmm. He had that, and to pick a guy up over your head and drop him down across your knee like that takes a lot of strength, a lot of coordination, a lot of timing. He had all those things. Dean was just one of those guys that just, I don't think there was anything he couldn't do in a ring. He had fun in the ring a lot of times. He looked all dead serious, of course, with that, ice the Iceman glare or stare, you know, but Dean was just a fun guy to be around in the back. He'd laugh and joke and quick wit, turn of phrase, all those things, just and a good-hearted dude. Training down there, you know, I saw him help so many other people. I remember getting in the ring with Dean. I'd been there like 4 months, and Professor Malenko asked Dean to come in and start helping some of the guys, and Dean was showing me something. A guy just kind of kicked me in the jaw for like a high knee, and Dean come in and I kind of flinched away with it, and Dean goes, "Look, Bobby," and I had known him for like 3 months at this point. I'd been down there about 4, but I knew him about 3, and he said, "Bobby, I'm the least person in this ring you ever need to be worried about." And he bent me over, gave me a little bit of a knee, and showing the other guys, said, "Here's what you do: you pace off your steps and this and that." All the guys I seen him and his brother and his dad train, I never saw him take advantage of anyone, liberties of anyone, hurt anyone. They took their time and they coached them and taught them, and myself included like that. And Dean was so smooth at doing that and so instrumental in how he would say, "Let me show you a better way. Let me show you an easier way. Let me show you a faster way." He just had that mind that worked like that, man, and he could get you there. Like, you want to do this, you know, fireman carry into, you know, across the knee or whatever, he could show you. And again, I think Hiro Matsuda had helped him. He was his high school coach. He helped him train. Of course, he was around his brother some, a lot. He was around Gotch some. He was around his dad. And he saw the business from a young man, you know, growing up and stuff. But he was he told me he kind of just self-taught himself. He didn't want to do the shoot style all the time, and he didn't want to do the theatrical stuff all the time. He just kind of blended it together because he said his dad just poke you in the eyes or whatever, you know, on his comeback or something. But so he could blend it all together, man. And Dean is number 1 on this list, and that's all I'm gonna say about Dean Malenko. He's just number 1 on the list for most technical wrestler of all time.
Cloverleaf, that was a very inventive style hold, you know, kind of a spin on a figure 4 and a reverse figure 4.
Yeah.
And the Scorpion Deathlock. It looked a little more impressive with the way he put it on. Him, Jericho, and Benoit, when they'd use like the Boston Crab, that's really when it looked like it hurt. But yeah, Malenko could also suplex like a son of a bitch. Honestly, on this list, Jody Malenko, Boris Malenko could have been on here as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Not a problem. It is sometimes hard to get this list down to 10.
Yeah.
You know, and guys, I know there's some people we left off, and if you want to complain, feel free.
Oh, absolutely, man. Hit us up. Hit me up on Twitter at BobbyBlaze744. Hit Jeremy up at the Geekus Cast, or hit our joint account up at Bell to Bell Blaze. That's all on Twitter. There's a Facebook page out there. Also, we mentioned a YouTube channel at tinyurl.com/BBBB video, and get a hold of us, man. Let us know what you think. You can use the hashtag BBBB if you want to, or you just write us, man, and we'll comment back. I'm more active on Twitter than anything else. I'd love to hear from you, what you thought about our list. And sorry about the delay on this week's podcast. The other one just didn't take, and I think this one, you know, we might have went about 5 minutes over, or 10 minutes. I'm not really sure. I quit watching the clock because once we started talking about Angle and Malenko there, it's kind of, you know, let's go. Katie Bartadors, if you will. We're going to let go of those guys because we think so much of and how talented they are. Jeremy, I'm just going to say before I let you close out the show, man, it's good to hear your voice again. I hope all this recorded this week. Wrestling fans, thanks for being wrestling fans. And there's a lot of good programming out there right now that is like pro wrestling. So go out there and enjoy it, man. You're a fan for a reason. And this week here, like I said, when I watched that NWA Pro, and I wrote this back to a couple people on Twitter, it made me glad to be a wrestling fan. It really did. It done my heart some good to see that. So listen, folks out there, take care of each other, be kind to each other, man, and just have a great week, and I hope you enjoyed the podcast.
Yeah, thank you, Bobby. That was a great way to close out. Yeah, it's an exciting time to be a wrestling fan for the first time in 20 years almost. We have options. I mean, yeah, there were like indie places, but now we have some mainstream options. And overnight, it happened again. Pro wrestling went from being a joke to being cool.
Yep.
Overnight, it happened, and it's an awesome time to be into it. The NWA title means something now. The AEW title will hopefully get up to a point where it means a little something. Bobby is correct. If you guys can get down to Georgia, you need to figure out when they're taping those NWA shows and see if you can get on there somehow. There are venues to go work now, guys. More of them. Bigger profile. Go check them out. It's time to fucking double down on this. But, don't forget your local indie guys who've been out there promoting the whole time either. They need some love too. All right, everybody, for Bobby Blaze and for myself, Professor Jeremy Vilmer, bye-bye, everybody.